We've all been waiting patiently for updates on the sale of Manchester United. What's going on with the takeover? Now we have confirmation that there is going to be a third round of bidding. What does that mean? What does that mean for the sale of the club? When's it going to happen? I'm going to explain what this third round of bidding means. It's something that I felt was always likely, and it's now being confirmed. I'll explain the full story, all the news, where it's come from, whether it's reliable, and what happens next. So make sure you drop a like on the video. It's my last day in Marrakesh, flying back today. So we'll be back in the studio on Thursday evening for the Sevilla game, and then the live shows will be kickstarted from Friday. But let's talk about the takeover. Let's be completely honest. It's been a frustrating wait since the second bids went in. It's been 2 and a bit weeks now, I believe, since those second bids went in. And we were all expecting movement to happen quickly. But then we remember that it's the Glazers selling. They drag their feet. They're greedy. Both of those things combined means delays are always likely. You remember that the first original deadline was that the sale was hopefully going to be completed by the end of Q1. That was 12 days ago. We're still not even in the process where a bid's been accepted. Now let's run through the full story, how it broke and how it developed over the last 24 hours. All right. So this is coming from The Athletic. And The Athletic here, it's in their mailbag. They're talking about what's going on with the sale of the club. And they confirmed that, look, those second bids had gone in, but it's been, and that's interesting use of words there, noticeably quiet since those offers went in. Now, you can look into that how you want, but I'm looking into it in saying that it means that the Glazers don't have the bid that they want just yet. That's why we're going to a third round, because the two options here from the second round were going to be either a third round of bidding or the Glazers were going to choose a preferred and exclusive partner. Now, that would have been the case if a bid had been enough for the Glazers, but they're just being greedy. And then yesterday, this is how that story developed from The Athletic, saying, well, it's kind of gone a bit quiet. Not much is happening. So all of a sudden, and I think this is interesting, because the reports of the third bid, the third round of bids coming out, actually came from the business side of things rather than the journalists. Sportico here and Reuters were kind of the first people to report that third round of bids is likely to happen. And then Ben Jacobs followed it up. And now I'm going to definitely do a follow-up interview with Ben. What's this going to be? Our seventh interview, I think, on the process. Let's run through what Ben had to say and then also run through what Simon Stone from the BBC and Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail. He said that there will be a third round of bidding in the sale process. Groups have until the end of April to make their next offers. Can confirm both Sheikh Jassim and Jim Ratcliffe are both through. Understand the exact number of groups to progress is still being determined and fed back, but there's clarity that another round will take place. Also be interesting to see whether these bids are billed as the final ones. Now, I absolutely would expect them to be the final ones. The Glazers are playing a dangerous game here, people. They're being greedy. The Glazers just want more money, and they think that they can just extend this process out. But they will reach a point where Jim Ratcliffe and or Sheikh Jassim decide, you know what, sod this, we're walking away. They won't just keep upping their offers and giving the Glazers what they want. There will come a point where the Glazers are going to have to accept a bid or end it, which is a worrying concept. But yeah, the deadline for these third bids is going to be the 28th of April. So what does that give us? 16 days from now, another couple of weeks. And I know this is going to frustrate a lot of United fans because we wanted this to be done early so that Ten Hag would have the most time possible to plan the summer. There is a substantial chance now that this affects Manchester United's ability to act decisively and quickly during the summer transfer window, which is a big problem. I'll run through that as well. This is Simon Stone from the BBC, and this is what he is saying on the situation. The potential sale of Manchester United has gone to that third round of bidding, and we go down here. It is understood the Glazer family, who said they were considering selling to explore strategic alternatives, have now opted to extend the process. This means potential purchasers, either of the whole club or a partial stake, must put more offers forward in the hope of concluding a deal. And this is what I was just mentioning there. It had been initially hoped that the process being run by the Rain Group would be completed by the end of the season, but the additional time for new bids means that is now unlikely to happen. That's frustrating. That's seriously frustrating. Now, I'm still holding on to a bit of hope that we can get this done in time for the summer transfer window to be able to be planned properly. But I suppose if you're Eric Ten Hag and you're, I don't know, John Murtough and everybody who's working at Manchester United, you're effectively drawing up two plans right now. One for if the Glazers stay and one for if the Glazers go. And you can't possibly make that second plan properly because you don't know who the new owner is going to be. So you don't know how to plan for that because it's an unknown entity. It makes it very, very difficult for Manchester United this summer. Now, let's go over to see what Mike Keegan is saying from the Daily Mail. And he's saying Manchester United, same thing, entering a third round this month. The Glazers are holding out for that $6 billion. They're still holding out and being greedy for that money, which Manchester United, simply put, is just not worth. Sportsmail understands that fresh offers are due before the end of the month as a long-running takeover saga takes another twist. That is such a Daily Mail line. I mean, growing frustration of a lack of communication. And I think if you look at, if you kind of look at how this has developed, right? Let's go there. There was so much being fed in the media, wasn't there, around takeover bids. And then it all went really, really quiet. So obviously the sources all went really, really quiet because the Rain Group and the Glazers all went really, really quiet. There is definitely growing frustration among United fans. Takeovers take time, right? It's been described there as this takeover, huge, long saga. I don't particularly think it massively is. Like, November was when the announcement was made. And what's that? 6 months ago? And we're at the point now of third round of bid. I don't think that process is too long. Now, don't try and compare it to the Chelsea takeover because that was forced on Chelsea and Abramovich by the government, had a deadline. That had to be done swiftly. I wouldn't really describe this as a long saga. The thing that makes it the saga is that necessity for constant updates. What's going on? What's going on? What's changed today from yesterday? And being in that position when if nothing happens and you're like, oh, this is such a saga. Nothing's happened in the last 72 hours. What's going on? But it does take time. However, I have to admit, I'm at a position now where I'm definitely worried for how Manchester United can plan properly for the summer with Eric Ten Hag. We need time to get this done. The big problem that we had during the summer was about a lack of, I would call it a slick operation. I think the players we signed in the summer were good, but we overpaid for Casemiro. Probably didn't overpay for Casemiro. We certainly overpaid for Anthony. In terms of what he was actually worth, I think he's a very good player, but we overpaid massively, and so much of our business was done late in the window. That's why so many fans, if it's going to be Sheikh Jassim, right, or if it's going to be Jim Ratcliffe, either or, for that new owner to be in, we were told by the end of Q1, that always felt short, and it's proven to be the case. And the reason it's being the case is because these fuckers they still own us, and they are being greedy. They are holding out for a price which Manchester United, simply put, is not worth. And because Eric Ten Hag has done so well this season, has got that League Cup, we're in the FA Cup semi-final, we're in the Europa League quarter-final, we're in that top four, we're in prime position for a top four finish, the Glazers will be looking at that going, okay, well, we can add a few zeros on the end of that. But they will definitely be doing that. They will absolutely be having these conversations because of that. But the third round of bidding has been confirmed. Now, as I said, the thing is frustrating. It's not frustrating. I mean, it is frustrating, I suppose. I was hoping that at this point it was going to go to that exclusive bidder. It always felt like a third round was more likely, so the Glazers can try and squeeze another 100 mil, another 150. Imagine that, squeezing 150 mil out. Jeez, give me that. But the Glazers are digging their heels in. And I tell you what, it's probably going to be coming off the back of advice from the Rain Group as well. I think they're just as bad as each other. I was hoping that the Elliott Group weren't going to be involved at this stage, but I feared that the Glazers would hold that as a, I don't know, the fear factor, basically. The idea that they might find something. And something to really consider around the concept of an Elliott Group investment in a club is this. I don't think the Elliott Group is just going to give, hypothetically, to give the Glazers $1-2 billion and say, there you go, there's our money. You keep all your, you keep everything. We'll take the risk, and then we'll get our money back in a couple of years' time. I imagine they probably want some sort of percentage of ownership. And if that was the case and the Glazers diluted their ownership, they would effectively be spending their own money, which they've never done before. It's something I've just been thinking about. But that third round of bidding has been confirmed. Ben Jacobs making it clear that the 28th of April is the next deadline. So I've genuinely felt when I was out here in Marrakesh, there was going to be a mega update on this, and there hasn't been. But the third round is in now. That's a big update. I hope I've explained it to you in as much detail as possible here. It all revolves around the greed of the Glazers. I mean, no surprise there, right? They want more money. Sheikh Jassim and Jim Ratcliffe, they've both put bids in. And I'll tell you what, they will put third bids in. They both go into the third round. But it's going to reach a point where they go, you know what? You're taking the piss. And they pull out. It's a game of chicken at this point. The Glazers have won it up until this stage because they probably will get a third bid, which will be bigger. But at this for me feels like a final stage. If at this point it's not going to be agreed, I'm not sure whether Sheikh Jassim or Jim Ratcliffe will come back for round 4. That's my own instinct. I'm not basing it on anything. You can let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll be back in the studio for the next video. Thank you so much for continuing to support me out here. Drop a like on this one. I'll speak to you soon.